Leonard earned his PhD from Michigan State University in 1964. An exemplary rise across a long career led Leonard to become chair of the School of Accounting, dean of the College of Business, and ultimately president of Central Michigan University.
Leonard played pivotal roles in the expansion of the college, both in its enrollment and in its physical footprint. As president, Leonard led a reorganization of the colleges and built a more student-focused culture on the campus. Leonard was among the first to identify students as customers. Again, a few details of that transformation are chronicled in the video testimonial that we have queued up. Let's take a look.
When I was, I guess, a junior, one of my dreams was to get into the business school, and I was able to sit down with Dr. Plachta, and he was the dean of the college at the time, and he gave me some advice on what I needed to do and how to get into the school and what I needed to do to be successful. If there's a path anywhere that I can trace back to a point in my time that got me on this track, it was that conversation that I had with Dr. Plachta.
You could see in his actions that he basically had expectations of you, that you knew what you were talking about. He had a wry sense of humor, very focused, and I think that the kind of guy that serves both the students and the university very well.
I mean, he came through the ranks. He received a PhD from Michigan State. He had been at the University of Detroit and Alma College before he came here. So when he entered Central Michigan University in the 1970s, he entered at the rank of full professor. But he had the perspective of a longtime faculty member when he became dean in 1980.
I could tell that he had a love and passion to work with students to make them successful in a business career.
Way back in the 70s when I was in the business school, and at that time I was one of 4 women in the business school, if you can believe that. And Dr. Plachta was my accounting professor, and I really thought I would hate accounting and it would be really boring, and honestly Dr. Plachta was my favorite professor. He was inspiring as a teacher, and somehow he made accounting, which you would think would be the most boring subject in the world, interesting.
There were 3 of us in the class that really kind of got to know him outside of class a bit, and when it came to the final exam that year, we, after the exam, now this is 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, begged and pleaded to get Leonard Plachta to come down to the Bird and have a beer with us. He said he would come. We weren't sure, but we went down there anyhow, and sure enough, he showed up, and I'll be darned, I think that's the first beer Leonard ever drank. He drank a beer and shucked some peanuts with us. And during that time, I asked him for a piece of parting advice. And his advice to me was, make your contacts early in life.
He would always say, dress professionally, act professionally. I've seen him many times over his career at basketball games or coming to the office on a Saturday or Sunday, and Leonard was wearing a suit and tie.
I remember one of the female instructors in accounting once saying, because Leonard was known as a person who always dressed fairly formally, and she would jokingly say a couple of times, I would just love to see the tie that Leonard has for his pajamas.
He and Mrs. Plachta were quite a team. If you were a non-traditional student here, things were pretty hard. Nothing was set up for you. You were just kind of out there. And he and Mrs. Plachta and Louise set up just practical common sense things to help, like a single parent meet up with some other single parents and share information. Maybe I'll watch your children while you're in whatever. And I know that sounds like maybe a small thing, but if you're a non-traditional student trying to make it here, those things, those sensitive, thoughtful things make a huge difference.
When I was on a tenure track, kind of sweating over what I had to do to get tenure, he laid it out for me perfectly. I followed everything he told me to do, and I got the tenure without any problem. Everything he said to me all his life was honest, forthright, and you could always trust his word. You never had to doubt it for an instant.
He had a saying, when a conversation was going on and it wasn't really getting anywhere, he would say, "This conversation is deteriorating." I'm very pleased to say that in all the conversations I had with him, I never heard him say that in my presence.
Whatever he did, he persevered until he could, bring something to closure.
To this day, I keep in my office a picture, and I always look at this each and every day when I have a problem of any kind and ask myself, what would Leonard Plachta do?
The qualities over the years that impressed me most about Leonard is his strong business leadership, his integrity, his dedication to students, to the university, to the college, his love and passion to teaching. And I believe Leonard is well deserving of this particular award.
And here to receive the honor on Leonard's behalf, former First Lady and Leonard's better half, Louise Plachta.
Thank you for the honor that you've bestowed on Leonard. I wish he were here to accept it himself, but because that's not possible, I'll accept it in his memory. As some of you may know, I'm more comfortable with the written word rather than making speeches, so I plan to keep this short. Before I begin, however, thank you, all of you, for coming to honor my late husband. Leonard was a risk taker. I told him that he had to be because he married me. But a thoughtful, honest, hardworking risk taker with high ethical standards, standards that he sought to instill in his daughters and grandchildren, and as dean in his faculty members. As president of CMU, he expected nothing less of all employees. Perhaps his attitude and behavior were the result of a Jesuit education. As you heard before, he had his undergraduate and MBA degrees from the University of Detroit. Maybe because he was a Roman Catholic. Interestingly, this event is being held on the same date 50 years ago that the first Catholic of the United States was assassinated. Maybe because he worked hard for any benefits he received. Maybe it was just an innate characteristic. Whatever it was, he exemplified what Peter Drucker wrote. Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. After Leonard died in January 2008, I found in his wallet a well-worn clipping with the following words attributed to William Penn. Quote, "I expect to pass through life but once. If therefore there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now, and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again." I have those words now posted on my refrigerator door. In his roles as father, teacher, administrator, human being, Leonard lived those words.
Wow, that's a tough act to follow. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling awful inspired right now, and I'm really proud to be a Chip. Thank you.